long time since I've done this, but I've got a draft analysis for Season 17 at the APA Classic. I'll be playing under the team name Portland Ferrothorns. Yeah, it's my first league in a while. I haven't played much in Generation 8 since the game's come out. Mostly just been playing other games. Haven't really had the itch for draft. Done one full league. It's in playoffs right now. But other than that, just been kind of watching stuff here or there, but haven't even been playing on the ladder or anything. So expect the first couple weeks to be kind of rusty, but hopefully we can get our groove and get back into it. But we're in a league with a lot of good players, and thanks to Panther for letting me in, and Ultra Player for recommending me. So it'll be a good test of our skill, and hopefully by week 3 or 4 we kind of pick it up and shake the rust off. So let's get into this draft. Get 11 Mons for your team, 135 total points, which is a little bit higher than usual, but that's because there's going to be Ubers. Each team can get up to 2 Ubers on their team, combined 50 points maximum. There were some Ubers that were banned, like some of the Arceus forms were banned, the Primals were banned, but for the most part, almost all the Ubers were there. And what was interesting is I've never played on the Ubers ladder before, and I've never played an Ubers league, so not only am I coming off a pretty big break in from playing league in general, I'm also trying to learn a slightly new format for the most part. Yeah, also there's Z moves in this league, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it is what it is. You get 25 points for your Z users, but anything that's an Uber can't use a Z, so it has to be like 19 points or less, I think, to use a Z. And you can use as many as you want up under the 25 point cap. So I was not in a great spot. I was picked 23 of 24, so I had almost wheels, but not quite. But really, in an Ubers league, what I found out the hard way is you don't want to be picked 23. You want to be in that top 10 or 15 at least to get yourself a top tier Uber, because there's a huge drop off in them. I think the most expensive Uber was 30, the cheapest were 20. But even then, when you're picking the 23rd one, there's not a lot left, especially because the rules had that only 2 Arceus total could be picked, and so that takes a lot of these off the board right away. So I kind of approached my draft a little differently. A lot of teams tried to stack 2 Ubers at the start, but I thought because I'd be picking the worst Uber, basically, that it wouldn't be advantageous for me to do that, and I needed to load up on higher tier non-Uber Mons, and I needed to have a team that wasn't top heavy, because I will have the worst of the top heavy teams picking 23rd. So not what I wanted to do by any means, but it's kind of what I thought I had to do. But overall, I think this draft kind of turned out poorly, but we'll see how we can make it work. So my first pick, I took Naganadel. There wasn't a whole lot left at this point. I think Kyurem Black was available, a regular Blaziken, Dialga. There wasn't a whole lot left, and I decided that I wanted something fast, because I thought I could get bulk in kind of mid-speed tier Mons later in the draft, and I didn't see a whole lot of high-speed things that I wanted right off the bat, so I thought my first couple picks, I'm going to try and clean up on my high-speed tiers. So yeah, I got Naganadel. What led me to this was that with its fairy typing, it can, with its poison typing, it can hit the fairies that want to traditionally switch in on dragons. Being 127 and 121 on its highest stats for special attack and speed, I can manipulate that pretty easily without extreme investment to get the beast boost that I want, and so that lets me run either like a spec set or a scarf set, and I can get the opposite boost accordingly. It's not the bulkiest thing, but it's got decent typing. Dragon helps resist a lot of normal things, like just kind of passive water types, your passive Mega Venusaur, stuff like that aren't specifically running anything for it. So I like the typing on that. Switch to Thunderbolts pretty easily. Yeah, it gives me momentum. Not a whole lot of variety in the movesets here, though. So I'm going to be kind of running the same kind of things every week. Dragon move, poison move, maybe a coverage move, U-turn. There's not a whole lot to do with it. I wish it got Roost with those big wings, but it doesn't. So we'll have to see how I use this. It's a little outside my comfort zone. It's a little more glass cannon than I usually go, but we'll make it work. With my second round pick, which was a couple picks away, I think I was picked, see, I was 26, so 2 picks away was me. Again, I picked Dragapult. This is the only thing I really wanted to use coming into the draft, seeing that I had the 23rd pick, so hoping anything that wasn't just the dragon would fall to the end of the round 1 Ubers, but it didn't. So I went with Dragapult, and this is me dipping into the high point mons earlier than taking a second Uber, as I mentioned earlier. The 19 points, which I thought was a little bit expensive, but I wanted to use it really bad, so I bit the bullet on that. It's got 3 viable abilities, which I'm going to have to maximize to get the most of it. Infiltrator's cool ability, which I like. Clear Body is nice if I want to make a physical set. Curse Body, I don't think I'll be using that as much, but you never know. Sometimes like the match just doesn't dictate you need the other one, so it seems fine to put on there, especially if I want to run like a sub set or anything. Also gives me great momentum, very fast, 142 speed, which is great for that. It gives me kind of a free lead once I'm predicting Scarf, and even then, this is going to outspeed a lot of lower speed Scarfers, so it kind of eliminates my guessing on what's going to be the Scarf for my opponent. And that's something I liked. Previously I used Zeraora recently, and I really liked the ability to kind of eliminate what Scarfers I had to worry about in prep, and so Dragapult I think is going to fill that tier mostly, but it's a little bit slower. Nice mixed attacker. I'm not locked into physical or special. There's Specs Hex, can run a Dragon Dance. Dragon Dark is nice for things that want to run Sash, like Alakazams aren't going to bother me. Yeah, overall, just really happy with the ability of all its moves, and I can kind of mix and match if I want. I think this mon will only be hindered by my creativity. So, yeah, and that kind of goes into the utility or win con. I can either offensively try to use this, or I can try to use it to help set up other mons. I've used it a lot in doubles, and when the game first came out, and I really liked it there, and so I'm interested to see how I can make it perform in singles. Its high speed tier also allows me on some teams to run a bulkier set, so while 88, 75, 75 is not great, this bulk will really, the extra HP from the not needing a lot of speed is going to really help me make a bulkier set out of this thing. So, yeah. Round 3, my main thing with these 2 wheel picks was I wanted to get 2 things that protected Dragapult and Naganadel. So I wanted a Fairy resist, a Dragon resist, and an Ice resist. And so Corviknight gets 2 to 3, and if you're not running a stab ice move, it kind of eats your ice moves as well. So I got it for 17 points. It had really reliable cut recovery, which was nice, and removal. Not running a team super weak to rocks or spike stack or anything, but having a viable threat like that to take off the hazards really, it prevents some people from even wanting to bring them. So did that. It's got Roost, also momentum, which is nice. I have 3 things that have momentum now. Really play off each other, so if I can get hazards up, that can be helpful for me, or if I can chip things with status. I view this as a wall for my team. I like to have the sturdy wall core, which we'll see I don't totally get in this league, but it has offensive presence. The reason I picked this over like a Skarmory is that there's a lot more ways this thing can set up on the opponent. While both have Brave Bird body presence, has bulk up, U-turn for momentum, it's got power trip, it's got agility, it's got more ways for me to help set up, and also has a higher Spadef, so I like that as well, because I'm thinking it's more of like a Fairy Ice Switch-in, which in my mind, I play more to special type attacks. Yeah, it's just a great defensive mon that's going to protect my Dragon Core, and that's the main reason I took it. 17 points I think is a little expensive, but there's a huge run on steals during this round. I really did want Mega Scissor or Jirachi, but they are both gone, so I went with the next best thing. It's a little more passive than I wanted, but it's got the set of options. It's just not going to be the immediate threat when it hits the field. So my round 4 pick is Rotom Heat. 14 points I think is a little expensive, but Rotom forms are popular with heavy duty boosts. This thing's gotten even better. Nasty plot as well. More momentum, which is nice. It gives me a second ground immunity, which is nice for Naganadel, so you can't really choice lock in a Scarfer to try and take me out with that. Because I have a lot of ways to kind of pivot around it if you do. This protects the Dragon Core very well with taking Ice and Fairy hits. So I have a sturdy resist for Dragon Fairy Ice, which is great. I do think this is the pick where my draft kind of went sideways, though, and it kind of made my draft go in a way that I don't feel comfortable playing. Ordinarily, I like a sturdy wall core, offensive threats, momentum, but I don't really like mons that are stuck in the middle that don't do anything, with very rare exceptions. So like one of those exceptions is Nido Queen, where it's not really a full wall, but it's not really a powerhouse on offense. But usually that's the type of mon I try to avoid, and Rotom H is pretty much exactly that. It's not really going to switch in on much and take it comfortably unless you know the resist. But in League, with people just having creative prep, additional coverage moves, you're a prediction away from really being in a world of hurt. And though Rotom can take one hit from most things, it can't take 2 hits from a lot of things, especially in an Ubers League where the power creep's a little higher. I think that this was a poor pick on my part, though it had good typing synergy. I think it was just a miscalculation of, one, what the rest of the draft was going to be, and 2, what my end team composition was going to need to be for an Ubers League. And so I think it's kind of late to fix anything. The board's pretty picked over, but this might be a mon that I try to use the 14 points or something to make change so something good gets dropped, especially in Uber. So yeah, overall, I think it's a solid mon. I think I can use it decently, but I think for the price and the role I wanted it to play in my mind, it was just a poor pick here. So round 5, 14 points at Mega T-Tar. Originally I picked a Alolan Ninetales, and I was going to try and commit to kind of a hyper offense thing, but I can't play out hyper offense. So after the draft, I dropped Alolan Ninetales, and I drafted with in mind I needed to have a couple extra points to pick up T-Tar to minimize the transactions I used. So I got T-Tar because I think it's a good beneficiary of the speed momentum that I have. It comes in, it can take off those momentum. It's pretty bulky, and with Naganadel and Dragapult and Corviknight to an extent, you're not really want to be going for fighting type moves, which is T-Tar's biggest weakness. So I think that it coming in off of momentum, it can take a hit really well and force something out. It doesn't get Pursuit, unfortunately, but it does give me a reliable rocker. I think it's protected very well defensively by my round 1 through 4 picks. Dragapult and Naganadel can take the fighting type attacks pretty well. Naganadel doesn't want to take big hits, but they can both take passive Scalds, grass type moves very well. T-Tar protects the ghost types there against Dragapult. What else we got? Yeah, Earthquake, switch in. It's Corviknight, Rotom. Yeah, overall, I think the first 4 picks I think protect it pretty well, and so I think if I'm ever going to use this thing well, it's got a chance. It's got setup options galore. It got some cool new moves with the DLC, it looks like. And yeah, I don't have a bunch of great hazard users, as we'll see in the rest of the draft, so I thought the sand was really valuable for me to break sashes from people that don't think I'm going to run rocks. So they kind of waste an item on their slot. And so I thought that was an important by part as well. So yeah, round 6, we went with Ditto. My thought was I was kind of running lowish on points at this point, and there's no real Ubers I wanted left. Originally when I had Alolan Ninetales, I wanted Blastoise, but it got taken actually to pick before me here on the wheel, so I miscalculated that. So I got Ditto, only 9 points. I think it can transform, and I think it gives me an option that if someone wants to set up with an Uber, I can out-Uber them maybe, but Brent setup, I didn't get a great wall core, so I'm hoping this will stop me with like a Mega Charizard X from trying to run it through me. Yeah, as you'll see, no stats on the side because they don't really matter. I'm just going to be copying whatever my opponent says, plus max with Ditto's small HP. So, yeah, that was just kind of what it was. The draft's kind of gone awry at this point. I'm trying to pick ahead of where people are going, so while everyone's picking in the 15 to 12 point range right now, kind of, I'm trying to dip even lower to get my first picks of those, because 40-something picks in between, it's not going to work, and so that's kind of why the order of my picks are kind of off here on what you think would be a later round pick or not. Next I took Gothorita, so it's like 40-something picks after the Ditto. I basically got it because it was a really low price, it's $5 or 5 points. I thought that was really cheap. I use this thing very well in a handful of leagues already. Even if it's not setting up on something, which I think it does better than Gothitelle actually, because of its bulk. If it's not setting up on something, it's crippling that, and so while I think that my opponents will be smart on kind of not letting me trap and win with it because they're highly skilled, I do think this will give me an advantage to help other things set up. So while this might not be a total setup option, it has potential. It's more I'm looking at it to cripple other things, even if they run Shed Shells to switch out. And if you do run something passive and you aren't invested properly, I can really wreck a team. I've had a handful of games where I just take 3 or 4 things the opponent thought they could handle it. For whatever reason, my investment was different than they thought. I ran a different set. I ran lowering moves instead of boosting moves. This thing's just annoying in general. So I like that in prep, just having to have someone has to allocate a resource to a 5-point mon, which is not what you ordinarily do. And then a couple picks later, I took Sableye. Basically just took this because it was 3 points. I think it's the mon that I've used the best in low tier. Low tiers. Used it well in low tier leagues. I've used it well in standard leagues. Basically, this is the one I feel super comfortable being creative with. Creating new sets with it. Setup, stall, utility. It can do it all. It prevents setup in front of you with unless they're a dark fighting type with foul play. It's got status. I think it's a great mon for 3 points. I thought it was extremely underpriced. Probably should be at least 5 or 6, but I'll take it. I'm not sure how it's going to do in an Ubers league because unless it's wisping a physical threat, because yeah, its bulk isn't great on its own. It relies on its typing a lot, so we'll see how it does in the Ubers league. I think it can handle a lot of team standard stuff though, and yeah. So this is where I kind of dip back into the higher stuff. Everyone at this point in round 9 is picking low tier stuff. So I'm going to get my fairy type here. It also resists ice, which is great. I'm going to get a Zoomer for 14 points. Obviously, it can run its usual huge power set. It can be banded, vest, kind of bulkier berry, citrus berry kind of stuff with belly drum. I think it's great. It gives me momentum. Or not momentum. It takes advantage of the momentum. It gives me great priority with Aqua Jet. It's in my Z user, so I can get off the belly drum basically anytime during the match. So that'll be nice. I had my eye on this for earlier in the rounds, but I kind of wanted to wait because I had an idea of maybe getting a rain team, but then points didn't quite line up based on what I was seeing. So yeah, it ended up sticking though, and I'm excited to use it. I haven't used it in a long time. But without being able to get a good wall core, because all the good walls were long gone. I needed things that could reliably use like Assault Vest or had great defensive typing. So Azumarill fits that for me. It can live a lot of hits. I protect its weaknesses very well. And so I wish I had a Wish Passer to help it out, but we'll have to play it smart. So round 10. We have a typo on there. It should be 12 points, but it's Snorlax, which I was super happy. I wanted this way earlier, but I just opted for. I needed to dip into the lower points earlier to get stuff that I wanted, and it luckily stuck around. It gives me an ice resist and a fire resist through thick fat. Sponges special hits super well. Even if they're Ubers, it's going to take special hits pretty well for me. It's got all sorts of good setup moves. Curse, Amnesia, Stockpile. Like, it can be obnoxious with how it wants to set up. Good price. I've used it before. My team's not super weak to knockoffs, so I feel fine having that. Because if I want to recycle opponents, I want to try and knock that berry off. But overall, I wish it had more walls to help it, because I like to run it more as a wall than as a setup mon. But hey, it is what it is. So that leads to the last pick, which is Stunfisk. I basically got this because I needed a ground type that wasn't paper thin. It gives me a second rocker. It's a Z user as well, just because I had the points to do it. I didn't use additional Z users like Sableye because I didn't want to use a Z transaction. I see myself potentially dropping Stunfisk, and so if I drop it, I get to change Z users for free without using a transaction, whereas I don't want to have to take it off something like Sableye, which I don't see myself drafting just for the point total. But yeah, so maybe I catch something off guard with a Z Electric or Ground or whatever. But never used it before. I've seen it used well. It just seems annoying in general. So just kind of scare things that are either scarfed or fast that want to use U-turn. Get up rocks. Spread Discharge. Basically, it's just hoping for packs. But we'll see how it goes. That's my team. Not super thrilled with it. Don't think it's horrible. I think it's kind of middle of the pack. Maybe a little below average. One of the worst drafts I think I've had, but I'm drafting with super skilled players, and I ended up in a real rough spot in the order, especially for an Ubers league. So we'll see how it goes. I think we can make this a decent run. There's definitely be transactions and stuff for this team, by no means a finished product. I'm kind of curious to see what other people drop for me to take advantage of that. That's the main reason why in the middle of the draft, I drafted to keep extra points just to use one transaction to get Mega T-Tar with Global Ninetales, just because I knew there'd be more moves made for this team. I needed all the transactions I could keep. So, yeah, that is the team. I'll be posting the videos for the battles. Hopefully, I plan to do it. I'm not super busy, so I can do one battle a week. But yeah, I've already played my first week's match, and I will have that up next week. So, thanks for watching, and yeah.